Pack your bags, Elena. Brittany's moving in tonight, and this apartment isn't big enough for both of you. My husband Trevor stood in the doorway of what I thought was our home, his mistress smirking behind him while my clothes lay scattered on the hallway floor. What he didn't realize was that his name had never been on the lease, because I own the entire building. Should I tell him now or wait for the sheriff to do it? I'm Elena Vasquez, 31 years old, and until yesterday, I thought I had a decent marriage. Turns out, I was living in a carefully constructed lie. Let me start from the beginning. 5 years ago, I was working as a property manager for a real estate investment company in downtown Chicago. My job was to oversee luxury apartment buildings, handle tenant complaints, coordinate maintenance, ensure rent collection. It was good work, stable income, and I was good at it. That's where I met Trevor Ashford. He was charming, confident, and worked in pharmaceutical sales. He'd just moved to Chicago for a territory expansion and was looking for an apartment in one of the buildings I managed. "This penthouse is perfect," he'd said during the showing, flashing that megawatt smile. "But it's pretty empty. Maybe you could help me decorate it sometime?" Over dinner, I should have seen the red flags, the way he name-dropped expensive restaurants, how he casually mentioned his investment portfolio, the designer watch that seemed too flashy. But I was 26, flattered by the attention, and honestly, lonely. We dated for 8 months before he proposed. Looking back, he rushed everything, moved our relationship forward at lightning speed before I could think too critically about it. "Let's get married in Vegas," he'd suggested. "Just us, spontaneous and romantic. No family, no friends, no one to talk sense into me." We flew to Nevada on a Friday and came back married on Monday. The problem started almost immediately. Trevor's pharmaceutical sales job turned out to be less prestigious than he'd implied. He was constantly between positions, always with excuses about corporate restructuring or toxic work environments. Meanwhile, I kept working, kept paying bills, kept holding everything together. After a year of marriage, my boss offered me an incredible opportunity. "Elena, you're the best property manager we've had in a decade. How would you feel about becoming a partner in a new venture?" His proposal was ambitious. He wanted to sell me 3 smaller apartment buildings in up-and-coming Chicago neighborhoods at a significant discount. He'd finance part of it, I'd manage them, and we'd split the profits until I bought him out completely. It was a risk, but the numbers made sense. I liquidated my savings, took out a business loan, and became a property owner at age 28. I was terrified and exhilarated. Trevor's reaction? "That's cute. Your little real estate hobby." He didn't take it seriously, which actually worked in my favor. While he was busy networking, day drinking with buddies, I was busting my tail renovating units, filling vacancies, and building equity. Within 2 years, I'd paid off the business loan and bought out my former boss's share. I owned 3 buildings, 24 units total, outright. The rental income was substantial, nearly $18,000 monthly after expenses. But here's the kicker. I never told Trevor the full extent of my success. See, early in our marriage, whenever I'd get excited about a professional win, Trevor would diminish it. "That's great, babe, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Property management isn't exactly Wall Street." So I stopped sharing. I kept separate bank accounts, which he never questioned because he assumed I made so little it didn't matter. I filed taxes separately. I kept all business documents in a locked drawer in my office at the main building. Trevor thought I was still just a property manager working for someone else. He had no idea I was the owner. This arrangement suited him fine because it meant he could keep freeloading. He'd cycle through jobs, contribute minimally to household expenses, and I'd quietly cover the shortfall from my real estate income. I kept telling myself he'd eventually get his act together, that he'd find his footing and become a true partner. Instead, he found Brittany. I discovered the affair by accident 3 months ago. Trevor had left his laptop open, and a message notification popped up. "Can't wait for tonight, baby. Tell Elena you're working late again, face blowing a kiss." My stomach dropped. I clicked into the message thread and found months of evidence: hotel receipts, explicit photos, promises about their future together. But what really made my blood boil was this message from Trevor. "Don't worry, babe. Once I convince Elena to move out, you can move into the penthouse. She can't afford it on her salary anyway. She'll have to find some cheap studio somewhere." He was planning to kick me out of my own apartment. I sat there staring at the screen, shaking with rage and hurt. But underneath the emotion, my business brain started calculating. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I called my lawyer. Rebecca, hypothetically, if someone was living in an apartment they didn't pay rent for and weren't on the lease, what would be the process to remove them? My attorney Rebecca Singh had handled all my property acquisitions. She was sharp, ruthless, and immediately understood. Elena, what's going on? I told her everything. The affair, Trevor's plan to evict me from my own home, his complete ignorance about who actually owned the apartment. She was silent for a moment, then started laughing. Oh, this is beautiful. Let me draft some papers. Over the next 2 weeks, I documented everything while acting completely normal around Trevor. I smiled when he kissed me goodbye, probably heading to see Brittany. I made dinner and pretended not to notice when he texted under the table. I played the oblivious wife perfectly. Meanwhile, Rebecca prepared a comprehensive eviction notice, complete with documentation proving I owned the building, that Trevor had never paid rent, and that he was occupying the unit as a guest with no tenant rights. She also helped me gather evidence of his affair, for the divorce filing we'd submit immediately after the eviction. When do you want to do this? Rebecca asked. Let him make the first move, I said. I want to see how far he'll actually go. The answer came yesterday. I came home from inspecting one of my other buildings to find the locks changed on the penthouse. My key didn't work. I knocked, confused, and Trevor opened the door with Brittany standing behind him, looking triumphant. Trevor, what's going on? Why did you change the locks? Elena, we need to talk. He didn't even look guilty. I've been unhappy for a long time. Brittany and I are in love, and she's moving in. You need to pack your things and find somewhere else to live. I just stared at him. You're kicking me out? It's for the best. This place is too expensive for you anyway. Brittany and I both have good jobs. We can handle the rent. Brittany actually smirked at me. She was younger, maybe 24, with highlighted hair and designer gym clothes. No hard feelings, Elena. Trevor deserves to be with someone on his level. Trevor had already thrown a suitcase of my clothes into the hallway. Not even everything, just random items like he'd grabbed whatever was convenient. Every fiber of my being wanted to explode, to scream, to tell him exactly who owned this apartment. But I remembered Rebecca's advice. Let him hang himself. The more brazen he is, the better it looks in court. So instead, I smiled calmly. Trevor, have you checked the mailbox today? He looked confused. What? No, why? You should probably check it. He rolled his eyes but walked to the mailbox in the lobby. Brittany followed, and so did I, maintaining my eerily calm demeanor. Trevor opened the mailbox and pulled out a large manila envelope with legal notice stamped across it. His face went white as he read. Eviction notice. Trevor Ashford is hereby notified that he is occupying Unit 12A at 847 North Michigan Avenue without legal right or rental agreement. The property owner, Elena Maria Vasquez, demands immediate vacation of the premises within 24 hours or legal action will follow. He looked up at me, confused. Property owner? This is a mistake. You don't. Keep reading, I said quietly. His eyes scanned the document, and I watched understanding slowly dawn. The deed copy showing my name. The purchase documents. The LLC registration for my property management company. The bank statements showing rental income from all 3 of my buildings. You own this building? His voice cracked. I own 3 buildings, actually. This one, the 6-unit on Dearborn, and the 8-unit in Wicker Park. I bought them 3 years ago. This specific penthouse? I've owned it for 4 years, since before we got married. Brittany grabbed the papers from his hands. This can't be right. Trevor said you were just a property manager. I am a property manager, I confirmed. I manage my own properties. Trevor never asked questions, so I never corrected his assumptions. Trevor's face cycled through emotions, shock, disbelief, anger, and finally fear. Elena, wait. Let's talk about this. Talk about what? How you were planning to throw me out of my own apartment so your girlfriend could move in. How you've been cheating on me for months. How you just changed the locks on a property you don't own and have never paid a single dollar toward. I pulled out my phone and called building security. Hi, Marcus. It's Elena. I have 2 people attempting to illegally occupy Unit 12A. Can you please escort them out? Thank you. Trevor's panic intensified. Elena, please. Where am I supposed to go? Brittany has a good job, right? You 2 can handle the rent somewhere else. 2 security guards arrived within minutes. I'd already given them the heads up yesterday that this might happen. Ms. Vasquez, are these the individuals? Marcus asked professionally. Yes. Mr. Ashford is not a tenant, and has no legal right to occupy this unit. Please escort them out and collect all keys. You can't do this, Brittany shrieked. Actually, I can. This is my property. Trevor is not on the lease, has never paid rent, and just illegally changed my locks. That's trespassing. The security guards were efficient. Within 20 minutes, Trevor and Brittany were standing on the sidewalk with whatever belongings Trevor had brought with him. Ironically, he'd packed more of my stuff than his own. I stood in the doorway of my apartment, watching them scramble to call an Uber. Trevor tried one last time. Elena, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Can we please talk about this like adults? My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce. You'll be served papers tomorrow. Divorce? Elena, come on. You tried to kick me out of my own home for your mistress. What exactly is there to save? Brittany tugged on his arm. Come on, Trevor. We'll figure something out. As their Uber drove away, I walked back into my apartment, and finally allowed myself to feel everything. Anger, betrayal, hurt, but also something else, relief. I called Rebecca. It's done. How do you feel? Honestly? Free. The divorce was swift and brutal. Trevor tried to claim he deserved half my property assets, but Rebecca destroyed that argument in court. We'd kept separate finances throughout the marriage. All properties were purchased before and during the marriage with my sole income and credit, and his name appeared nowhere on any documents. The judge was particularly unimpressed when Rebecca presented evidence of the affair and Trevor's attempt to illegally evict me from my own property. Trevor walked away with exactly what he brought into the marriage, nothing. The icing on the cake? Brittany dumped him 2 weeks after the eviction when she realized he had no money and no place to live. Turns out she'd been interested in the luxury penthouse lifestyle more than Trevor himself. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Trevor's living with his brother now, sleeping on a couch and working at a car dealership. He apparently tells anyone who'll listen about his crazy ex-wife who stole everything. Meanwhile, I just closed on my 4th building, a beautiful 16-unit property in Lincoln Park. Last month, I was showing an apartment to potential tenants when I ran into someone from our old circle of friends. Elena, I heard about the divorce. How are you holding up? Really well, actually. Business is booming. I always knew you were smart. Trevor was an idiot to lose you. I smiled. He never had me. He just thought he did. That night, I stood on the balcony of my penthouse, the one Trevor tried to steal, looking out over the Chicago skyline. The city lights stretched endlessly, and I felt genuinely happy for the first time in years. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Elena, it's Trevor. I know I messed up. Can we meet for coffee? I miss you. I deleted it without responding. Some people spend their whole lives looking for validation from partners who don't see their worth. I'd wasted 5 years on Trevor, but I'd also built an empire while he wasn't paying attention. The next morning, I was reviewing lease applications when my assistant knocked. Ms. Vasquez, there's someone here asking about the vacant 2-bedroom. Send them in. A woman in her early 30s walked in, looking nervous. Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm recently divorced and looking for a fresh start. Something in her expression looked familiar, that combination of hurt and determination. Tell me about yourself, I said gently. She explained her situation. Cheating husband, messy divorce, rebuilding her life from scratch. The apartment is $2,200 monthly, I said. Then, making a snap decision. But I'm running a special for new tenants rebuilding after divorce. First month free, and I'll knock $200 off the monthly rent for the first year. Her eyes filled with tears. Really? Why would you do that? Because I've been where you are. And sometimes we all need someone to believe in us when we're starting over. She signed the lease that afternoon. As I filed the paperwork, I thought about Trevor, probably still confused about how his property manager wife ended up owning everything. The truth is simple. While he was busy underestimating me, I was busy building an empire.